Yes, people, how is everyone doing now? Clearly, as you can tell, my voice is on the ropes because I was there yesterday, mental day. One half was extremely worrying, another half was extremely encouraging. So in this video, I'm going to try and mix them together and give the player ratings as usual, but also incorporate through those ratings my opinion on how overall I thought the game was and how things changed and what we need to do going forward. Yeah, I appreciate the support. Let's get into it. Yeah, I thought Elan on the ball was less hesitant than usual. He seemed to understand the system. He knew exactly where, when he received the ball, where to give the ball. Seemed to understand I have the ball here, that needs to go there quickly. That was a lot better. The understanding was good. Nothing much to really say. The goals people say should have done better on. I'm not sure, to be honest. I don't really know. I'm not a goalkeeper. I'll probably speak to someone who is. But yeah, 5 out of 10. Not much to do. Conceded 2 goals. Can't give much higher than that. Yeah, let's move on. Fullbacks now, and God, is this controversial every time you mention Luke Ayling's name? Anyway, here we go. So social media is fuming. One thing as an analyst I not hate but annoys me is just a screenshot of a game scenario, which is fine, but you have to give context to that. Obviously, in my videos, I have to do screenshots but what I do is I show the process leading up to the screenshot to provide context to the clip, right? The context of that problem with Luke Ayling, where he was massively out of position, is a product of many things. One, the player himself, who obviously shouldn't be in the position he is. That is a decision on his behalf. That's a decision he made. However, the lack and the absolute criminal lack of pressing on the central midfielder, who had all the space in the world and time to pick out a pass to the winger, is on the 2 central midfielders who were slow and nonchalant to actually go to him and close him down. That I'm telling you now, a coach will look at that and be right. That is bad. But how on earth has the number 8 Rolls, I think it was, had 5 to 10 seconds of just chilling in the midfield with no one closing him down? Why is Luke Ayling having to address Willie Gnonto's lack of positional play by being too far up and not getting back quick enough to try and guess where that pass is going to go? There's a lot of problems in this. It wasn't just him. It was a group scenario for that goal, and I'll go through it in my analysis. I give Luke Ayling 5.5. That is a problem on his behalf. He did make that mistake, but there's a lot of reasons for mistakes. But also, second half, I thought what he did really well, and the Daniel Farke fullback requires a lot of depth. Now, the passes Luke Ayling received when he broke past the defence and was at the byline and put decent crosses in are important in the system, and he did that very well. So I gave him a 5.5, mixed bag, and he kept the width really well in the first half. The problem was getting the ball to the wide areas quick enough. It was fine. People can exaggerate. I honestly don't care. It was 5.5 for me. Helder did struggle. Yeah, Helder did struggle. Tackling was a bit rash. Everything was a bit reactive, I think. Young man, 19 years old. He's got a lot of learning to do. Give him a 5. Byram was good when he came on. One thing I really love about Sam Byram in this system, and this is the importance of having system-based players, creates so much balance. So much balance. And what we saw in the second half was width, right? But in the first half, we didn't have width because we tried, but it was compact in those wide areas because we didn't quickly stretch Cardiff enough. They were too easily in their block. We didn't create space or depth or height or width, any of them, to give the fullbacks 1v1 chances. Now, what happened in the second half was Sam Byram created a lot of width and height and depth, which allowed more space in the middle for those 3 creative players in Somerville, Sinistera, Gnonto even, Vader, to have areas of space. The first half wouldn't have any of that. The attacking width from the left side wasn't there, which created unbalance, which means when we tried to go down the right side all the time, Cardiff had extra bodies because they could afford that because of the lack of attacking width on the left side. Sam Byram created that width really well. He got forward really well. He didn't get beat 1v1 at the back, apart from in the air, because Matete is huge. But yeah, I thought he was solid when he came on. The balance in the team was vital when he came on, and he was a big part of that. So 6.5, solid performance from Sam Byram. And look, just quickly, as you guys can see here with the fullbacks, look at the touches of Leo Hjelde. Just past the halfway line, there's nothing much at all in these overlapping areas. these byline areas. Whereas you look at Sam Byram in the second half, obviously a lot of defensive work to be done, but look at the main touches is in these very advanced areas. Same for Luke Ayling, who, of course, in the second half got to the byline a lot of times. So that's the real difference between Leo Hjelde at left back and Sam Byram at left back. You can see that right there. So yeah, on to the central midfield partnership. Now, a lot of not problems, but a lot of the issues and the lack of progression in the first half came from what we mentioned on Joe's show the other day about Cardiff creating that real block around the midfielders. Now, the way to counter that, which we did come into in the second half, was to have one of them drop and have the other midfielder to have a freer role in there, which creates, one of them drops out of that position, there's a lot more space for everyone, create more depth, create more height as well. Now, we did that in the second half, but in the first half, we didn't, and Ampadu was quite lost in there. He couldn't find space to progress the ball. Everything he had was kind of backwards. He couldn't really progress it and turn forward because he always had two guys near him. That's down to the team, that's down to the shape, that's down to adapting to the opponents as well. And it took us a while to do that. Obviously, we did it in the second half. And when even Ampadu dropped between the centre-backs and kind of played deeper, he dictated the play. Not even that, but when our utter dominance in the second half, when they won the ball back, Ethan Ampadu was there within seconds to win it back. Or he was sweeping all across. He was always on the ball. He was always there, the second ball. The first half, the second balls were terrible. We didn't win any. That ball came down. It was always a Cardiff player. We won a header. The Cardiff player was there first. In the midfield as well. In the second half, it was our midfield that did that, and that's down to these two guys. So he was two passes in the first, but he really dictated the second. Same with Archie Gray. I thought he was very brave on the ball. He did lose possession quite a bit. But again, that's down to the bravery. It's down to him being in positions in high risk areas where you've got 2 or 3 guys around you. That's down to the team. We can't have the isolation, and we didn't in the second half. And Archie Gray had a lot more fun of a role, a lot more creativity, a lot more movement. I was really impressed with him, both of them, to be honest. Archie Gray's a young lad, so I'm not going to do much on it, but he was very impressive in that game. Just a few more inconsistencies, and he's bang up there. And he already is. He's really good for a 17-year-old. I'm really impressed with him. Impressed with both. First half wasn't very impressed with them. I'll be really honest with you, but definitely in the second half I was very impressed with them. A lot more balance, a lot more movement, a lot more creativity. Both of them had a lot more space to occupy the pitch as well. So from the wingers, I give it James a 6. It wasn't good first half. He didn't have space. Every time he received the ball, it was very high up without space to run into. He was kind of a bit isolated there. They had 2 defenders around him at all times. It was hard for him to really create anything with that narrow shape in front of him. He couldn't really move around. Dan James required space to drive into. In the second half, I actually thought he looked more direct and dangerous. He could create a few chances for Leeds. He always kept the ball going forward. He stretched the defenders a lot. This helped with Sam Byram with the balance as well. And that shot was an outstanding save by the goalkeeper. That was going right in the side net, and I was literally right behind the shot. It was going right in the side netting, cut inside, beats defender, looked for that far corner. Good save by the keeper. We're going to see a few goals like that from Dan James this year. But yeah, I'd give him a 6 overall. Not a great first half, better second half. For Vader, I just put cooked the centre. Cooked the left back. Because he did, didn't he? He came on, right? And Daniel Farker said, right, get on that right side. 1v1 that full back, beat him. He did it 3 times out of 3. 3 dribbles, 3 successful ones. And he absolutely cooked him every time. Cooked. I'm not saying, it sounds like... Yeah, I gave him a 6.5 just because he didn't play that much. Can't give him higher than that because he played, 15 minutes? If he'd have done that for an entire half, he might have been getting 7 or 8. But yeah, did his job really well. Came on direct. Likes to embarrass defenders, which I love to see from my wingers. Not got that. We've got guys like Sinistera and Somerville who will just run past them because they're quicker than them, but he literally stands them up, looks them face to face and goes, right, I'm going to beat you and I'm going to embarrass you doing it. He was warming up right in front of me at half time. He was practicing it. And I'll say to my mate, he's going to come on in second half and do exactly that. He was literally stood on the right wing, but on the other side, right in front of me by the away fans. He was just doing it 1v1s with no one there, just pretending. So yeah, he came on and did exactly that. Really nice to see from Imperveda. There's a question about him starting now. Let's see. I'll be alright with it. Sinistera, again, I told you I've got these standards of Sinistera. 6.5 for me. First half, didn't too passive, didn't move enough, wasn't quicker with the ball. He still has moments in every half because he's that good. His quality is that good. But for what I need from Sinistera, it wasn't the best thing for him in that first half. He was too passive with it. I think his movement was a bit slow. I think his decision making wasn't great. Yeah, but second half he really did find space, and in terms of little movements, passing movement in dangerous areas, helped with the width as well. When he went on the left, I really liked it. Him on the left, Pavetta on the right is also something that could happen, and I'd like to see. I think that's real danger on each side of 1v1 dangerous players who can really defend, take on the defenders. So yeah, 6.5, because for his standards, not the best performance, but it was still fine, still dangerous in the second half. And went there for the goal, he absolutely cooked their centre back twice. So yeah, 6.5. Yeah. And these are the final two. Look, quick one on Gelhardt and Perkins. Perkins came on. I can't rate the guy. He played about 30 seconds. Gelhardt, to be fair, he occupied centre-back, so the cross was on. In the first half, there wasn't really that option to cross the ball. So he created a bit of depth in terms of being able to cross, but again, didn't do much on the ball. But, so these two, so I'm not going to rate them two, but these two right here. And I'll start off with my guy Willie Gnonto. So in the first half, I was, like I said, quite close to him as he often played further right as that striker role. And I thought with little he had in the first half, like getting the ball to the striker was the problem. He can't do that. That's not his role. They have to get it to him. And I thought when he had it, he was quite productive. He created some corners. The shot he had, which he chipped the keeper, which was so close. Well, fairly close, decent effort. I thought he was always a threat. He always tried. Showed a lot of endeavour, passion. People saying he doesn't care and all that. I tell I've been there at the stadium yesterday when he lost the ball. He was angry, hated it. He often looked at the fans to kind of just say, I'm sorry and stuff like that. Yeah, he does. He does care. I was impressed with him. I think, especially in the second half, that space again, the final third, he broke the defensive lines very well a lot. Did Willie Gnonto. And it's a tough area for being, especially when you've not played there in pre-season and you've not understand the role. I think he picked up quite well. As 1 or 2, you said he should have scored potentially, but the keeper's made some brilliant saves, especially the one where he absolutely cooked 2 defenders and just ran straight through him, and then keeper makes a good spread save, but he hits the bar as well. Yeah, I was impressed with him. I thought I'd give him a 6.5. Difficult situation. He's been in there, big centre backs. I thought he did well. I thought he held his own. We need more of that from Willie Gnonto now until we get a striker, because he's going to be important up until that point. But I'm alright with it. I think he played well in there, personally. Now, we'll talk about my guy here. This is Wingers Union, by the way. I know he didn't play a wing necessarily. He played everywhere. But, 10, winger, whatever. People disagree. He seems to be split in opinion. For me, I thought he was absolutely phenomenal. Genuinely believe that. Predominantly the second half. That's the area where we dominated. The first half, again, a bit inconsistent. Didn't create great movement, create spaces. He had a really good shot, which the keeper saved again, which was really impressive. Bit passive at times. We all were in the first half. There was not a lot of space to occupy until Ampadu dropped out of the area, and we created more depth and more height with Byram. Second half, though, and this is just from me being at the stadium, literally sat there every single time he got the ball. His first instinct was, I'm going forward. And that maintained constant pressure and constant confusion to Cardiff. He was unmarkable because he was moving so much. No one could mark him, like in the first half, people around him. No one could mark him. He'd drop really deep, he'd go wide, he'd drop in the pockets. He'd pick the ball up in any area, in any situation. He was so brave. He took the game by the scruff of the neck and said, I'm going to get a point for Leeds. He did that. Everything he did in that second half was outstanding for me. Just the endeavour. If he didn't play the way he did, we would not have got a goal. He was so good. Like, I can't stress how passive we were, and then that click, that change of I'll get the ball here, I'll have it here, I'll run with it, I'll progress it, I'll be a constant threat and a constant nuisance to Cardiff. But they couldn't get him. They couldn't get anywhere near him. Every attack he was part of in some way, shape or form. Whether off the ball movement, whether selfish runs, whether being on the ball and driving, creating runs. I just thought it was outstanding. The energy, endeavour, and a player who has now put himself on the Premier League map. Cheers, Cree. But look, I was utterly impressed with him. I just think he was the forefront of absolutely everything. People can mention his greediness. Yes, of course he can. He's a winger. He's a progressive player. That's not, for me, something that can lower a match rating because everything he did, he seemed to do better than everyone else anyway. And he scored the winning goal. And what a finish. That's a difficult chance. That's a difficult finish. In the game scenario yesterday, everything he did in that second half was right because everything he did led to something. Whether that be a corner, a chance, a progressive attack, he was at the forefront of it all. That finish was outstanding. He salvaged the point. Clutch player. Again, how many goals has this guy scored in the last 10 minutes of the game? How many points has he won? He's a clutch player. He's a player for me you need in this side. Regardless of where he plays, he's almost at the point now with some of the where I don't care. Just have him on that pitch. Seriously. Whether we sign a technical number 10 who's got that passing now, so who doesn't need to drive past 3 guys because he can create a pass, fine. Get him in. We need one. Maybe an 8 and keep Cree in the 10, and that 8 can interplay with Cree. You know, when we're in situations in games where we've got a lot of pressure on the opponents, they can interchange. Cree can just be that creative force behind you who can drive the ball. Keep the guy, please. I thought he was outstanding. Everything I wanted from him in that game he gave. Let me know what you guys think. He's my man of the match. Those are the ratings. Again, don't take them too seriously. It's just my opinion. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. I appreciate the support.